You're listening to Jamie. You're listening to Jamie. Yeah. You're listening to Jamie. You're listening to Jamie.
Hey y'all, peace and love, y'all. You're listening to Jeray Malay. Guys, the funniest thing happened to me today, and the funniest thing happened to me today. Hold on, let me post this. Ooh, my back, my back. Okay, let me put this. Annie, are you okay? Are you okay, Annie? Annie, are you okay? Said, are you okay, Annie? All right. Peace and love, peace and love. Coming in. Make sure you like the live. I'm about to get started in 2 seconds. 2 seconds. That's not even. That's not even funny. I was talking to my baby, and then like I literally heard like what people say in accent. I'm like, oh my god, wait, not my babies. Sounded like a big person. Um. Okay, so quick updates with me. Y'all, I'm so funny when I tell you I am funny. I'm the funniest person I know on two legs, honestly. Literally and honestly and truly. Um y'all know I've been like fake ass learning Spanish. I don't want to say fake learning Spanish, but you know I be practicing mi español or whatever, right? So so because I've been practicing my Spanish, really just kind of like conversational Spanish. It hasn't even been like I'm trying to learn something for a particular thing. It's really just me trying to enhance my communication skills, all of these different things. So I had some contractors at my house today, and I'm like, oh, this is an opportunity for me to use some of my Spanish that I've been practicing and learning, right? Right. So typically the people don't ever want to speak Spanish to you any motherfucking way because it's like, bitch, get to your point. You know what I mean? Like I have things I have to do, I have places I have to go, and I get it. Like if I was at my job and it was a little kid who stuttered, I wouldn't want to like be all interacting with the kid. Like, come on, out with it. I'm gonna try it anyway because I feel like y'all are in my home in proximity to my home, and I'm hospitable when appropriate. So what I realized is like a lot of my Spanish, I'm just trying to learn basic things. I don't know, like whatever. I'm not that conversational, although in my mind I feel that I am. I think I'm more of like one of those like no sabe people. Like I can understand it a little bit better than I can speak it. And I'm recognizing too that like my pronunciation, just because of how I naturally speak in English, like English is very pitchy. Like, especially not even English, but as a black person and a black woman, right? We'll put a little extra sauce on something that it doesn't necessarily have to be or like how we speak. Like you need that or do you need that? Like it changes on based on like how I'm talking or what I mean by it, the inflection, the tone, the pitch. So I don't know if I'm trying to say something like, I have water, right? Like I have the water. Y'all out here is hot, whatever. I was saying it like, what did I say? Um, yo tengo agua, right? Yo tengo agua, right? I think that's how you say it. Yo tengo agua, meaning like I have water. But you should say it in Spanish like yo tengo agua. Like and I would say it in like a different way. And they're kind of like, what? So I'm thinking whole time I'm thinking that they're Mexican. Naturally wrong, black woman, like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, of course you think everybody's Mexican. Whatever. So I'm like, donde usted, Mexico, Mexico? He's like, "Oh, no, 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 Guatemala." I'm like, "Okay, Guatemala." Know nothing about like Guatemala and outside of just like, okay, whatever. So I'm like, oh, so naturally I'm thinking somebody got to be from Mexico, right? I'm like, todos, like all of y'all. He's like, oh yeah, see, exactly. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. So I'm trying to still engage or whatever. So he's kind of like, his Spanish is not that great. I mean, his English is not that great. My Spanish is not great either. But, I wanna kinda engage. So, I put the waters in the freezer, but, them Spanish, when they be coming, they be having a little, the lunch and whatever, this, that, and the third, they be having all of this shit. Um, hold on. So, yeah, girl, I'm over here trying to, engage them and whatever, like trying to learn some, like, just to be even just like hearing some of the things that they're saying, you know what I mean? Just to be around it. I recognize like I need to be more like immersed in the language and the culture. Maybe I'll do more like maybe watch a show in Spanish as opposed to just trying to learn it and remember it. Hey, Jace, peace and love to you, Jace Bussy. Peace and love, guys. Make sure you like the live when you're coming in. So, I don't know. I think I just need to be more like I need to do a better job because the way I only knew two fucking sentences and two phrases and outside of like I'm like, you want the water, yo tengo agua. They don't want the water. Okay. So I put it in the freezer and then like, a little bit later, like, okay, well, por se acaso, like meaning like, okay, just in case you want it. Right. They're like, oh, okay, see, like, whatever. But I don't know. I just feel like for as much as I think I just need to be more directional with it because it's like, girl, what are you doing? I just know words. I know words. Okay, I'm gonna give you an example. Like, I need to understand the linguistic aspects of Spanish because it's so different. And it's not even so like I guess it's not that different because every language, I'm well. How are you, Jace? Thank you for asking. Every language has its own like linguistic traits and characteristics. Every language, I'm sure. Not that I know every language or that I've studied linguistics, but I'm just sure it does. But like so tomorrow I'm getting like my gutters replaced. And they're coming tomorrow. I thought it was gonna be today. So I'm like, how do I say, like what time tomorrow? So I'm like, tiempo mañana. Like, bitch, time, tiempo, mañana's tomorrow. Like in my mind, that makes sense. And he's like, oh, ha, 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 no, 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 no. Cuando is or whatever, whatever, whatever. Like so cuando is time too, but I forgot because tiempo makes more sense because time tiempo, bitch. But cuando is more like tiempo is like duration of time, and cuando is like thank you. Thank you, Vloggers Pink. I will get in on it, girl. Let me just anyway, the Spanish is getting on my nerve real bad. Okay. The Spanish, Espanol, It's getting on my nerve. I need the tranquilo, okay? And figure the shit out because it's not suavemente. Okay? Besame. Cuando is when. Oh, so cuando is when. So, oh, I thought cuando meant time. So if I say cuando mañana, oh, like when tomorrow. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So that does make a little sense. So tiempo mañana doesn't make sense because it's like the concept of time, I guess. I don't know, girl. I need I need maybe I do need Pimsleur. Where the old school Rosetta Stone? Robert Mackey is laughing in the chat. Make sure y'all liking the live because I haven't even checked it out or anything like this. Um, but yeah, that's my little update. So the Guatemalans were here. They were a little impressed, not a lot, not really impressed with my Espanol. But also too, I think that if it was like, you know, Puerto Rican, Dominican, or hell, even Mexicans, because there are more Mexicans here than like I feel like they would have appreciated more. Because the guys who do the landscaping, they are Mexican, and I can engage with them a little bit better. You know what I mean? Like, thank you so much. I love when you do this, me gusta, whatever the fuck. You know what I mean? Um, you need a Puerto Rican in your life, girl. Or a Mexican, just like a little Mexican friend or something. Um, yeah, you ain't lying. Maybe I do. So that way we could be a little bit conversational. And it's so funny because like I have a friend who's Puerto Rican and like, whatever, like just started learning English. And when I tell you like her English has really improved in like 5 months. And I'm like no bullshit. Like I'm like, damn. She's like, yeah, you see how she was spelling something. She started spelling something or whatever. And she was like, yeah, D-I da da da. She was like, you see my English. I'm like, damn, bitch. Like, I don't know. I just think maybe it's easier to translate it. I'm just so slow. Like I'm trying to make it translate from my mind in English into Spanish. And it's like, girl, no, that ain't it. But I think it's important to engage your mind, y'all. That's the point that I'm making. Don't just be out here just going to work, living your life, da 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 da. Oh, okay, okay, okay. Like you still got to engage your mind. You still have to learn new things. Um, and that's what I set out to do. Even if it's just like little brain teasers, like doing like one thing with one side of your body, doing something else with another piece of your body. Um, I like to just engage my mind. That's the long and short of it. Okay, and we'll talk about the rest mañana. I'm gonna think of like something that I can say, and then like I don't have like words for contractors. What the fuck? I have like conversationals like, where do you live? Norte de Americano? Oh, es usted, bitch. Like it's actually no, not that hard. The English and Spanish are sister languages. Are they? Are they? Sisters from another mister, maybe like sisters in what way? Sisters in Christ. Shit, they can't be blood sisters, not real sisters. Um, okay, girl. We have any thoughts, comments, anything I should know about before we hop into the commentary for tonight? Okay. So tomorrow's Friday. I have such a busy day. I was going to do a Friday night live. It may not happen. So I decided to do it tonight because I am committed to growth this month. I am committed to myself and I'm committed to growing this community. So if you are new here, make sure you stick around. Make sure you like this video. If you haven't done so already, I'd greatly appreciate it. It's a lot going on right now. It's a lot. And then like I feel like too, I don't know if anybody else is I don't even want to get into it. I don't want to get into it. I do not want to get into it. Incognito. Peace and love to you. When you figure it out, you'll see. I guess how? I need to figure out the the direction. Like I don't want to say like the direction. So like you know how it's like they are, they have, or they've and all this shit. Like I don't know what the actual word for that is, but like just the proper adverb, verb, adjective? Is it a noun? Okay. Exactamente, exacto, the fuck, claro, bitch. I don't know. I need like a real, and I guess because too, I'm a little bit of a literal person. And it sometimes it makes sense to me, and just sometimes it just doesn't. Cause tiempo mañana made perfect sense. Do you feel what I'm saying? But I guess it don't. Um, you gonna be my tutor, bub? I need a tutor. I need somebody who want to learn English, and I need somebody who knows Spanish. Thank you. And English translated backwards in Spanish. Yes, as in English is translated backwards in Spanish. Yeah, it's backwards. So like not toilet paper, but paper toilet. I know that's another thing too. The backwards thing. It's like I said, I'm better off starting over with something completely new and completely different Mandarin and just go off of my fucking memory. But I think naturally because of just proximity, I know a little bit more. Like I feel like if I hear it, I feel like I'm more inclined to be like, oh, okay, that's what they're talking about, type shit. Okay, like y'all sitting around, makes trabajo, bitch, get to work. I know that much. Okay, dinero, $1 mila. Uh huh. I need to learn Swahili. That's dashiki. That's Swahili for doggy style. Woo, girl. Anyways, um, oh god. Okay. So, did anybody see the Michael Jackson documentary on Netflix? Put it in the chat if you've seen it already. Because if you haven't seen it already, we're going to be getting into it. All right. And we're going to be getting into it in a very serious way. Right. A little disclaimer, we're going to be talking about heavier themes involving PDF stuff, child, harm to children, da da da. Y'all know the salaciousness that was surrounding Michael Jackson and his case that happened in 2005. All right. So the alleged abuse happened in 2003. He was taken to court in 2005. Now, girl, I wrote down notes. I wrote down notes because I was very serious today. And oh my God, not a part two. No, not the Michael Jackson movie. Not the Michael Jackson movie. I'm talking about the docu-series on Netflix. It's called Michael Jackson: The Verdict. Okay. So we're gonna get into that. Hi, my loves. It's Jeremy, Lady Girl from Around the Way, where we have culture, conversation, and community. And in today's video, I'm coming to y'all with some commentary about the Michael Jackson docu-series that was released on Netflix. It's called Michael Jackson: The Verdict. Now, I want to say that everybody feels that it's a convenient time that Netflix is coming out with this. And I think that the documentary itself kind of gave enough for people to draw their own conclusions. Um, Before I get into it though, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. I'd really appreciate it and I appreciate you. There's room and space for you here as long as you promise to be a safe space and hold space for others. Okay? A period and a point blank. So now that that's out the way, I wanted to say that I am one, a fan of Michael Jackson. Two, I'm a fan of documentaries. And so I'm going to look at this from a different lens. One, how it was set up, how well it was executed, the storyline, how it developed over time, the emotional arc that took place in the film. And then also to uh-oh. I don't know what happened. All right. We'll just use this camera. All right. Um Also to what let me go on get in position. Okay. Also what what we all kind of feel about Michael Jackson and his legacy, and kind of knowing that what we gained from the Michael Jackson, the film that just came out with his nephew Jafar. I think that that's important because that kind of came up. No, I'm not doing the fucking septum piercing thing. I'm not doing it tonight. I don't give a damn. Why do y'all? I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And y'all not about to piss me off either. and about to piss me off with a septum about a piercing. That really pisses me off. Like that gets on my nerves more than anything. I ain't even gonna lie to you. You right. You right. You ain't motherfucking lying. It's already bad enough the way I be moving around. Okay. So I don't even know what we was talking about. Michael Jackson. Um okay. Anyway, yeah, so Michael Jackson, we all know that he, was a, mega pop star. The movie just came out with his nephew Jafar, and it did well. It had a lot of, it was huge commercial success, and Jafar is well on his way to being an actress or an actor, I should say, but only doing Michael Jackson roles. That's another story for another time. I wasn't a real big fan of the Michael Jackson movie, only because I am a fan of Michael Jackson. We didn't really get too much from it. I mean, outside of Joe Jackson and the good memes, but we didn't really get too much from it. I really could have did without it, honestly and truly. But, it is what it is. I think Netflix was very slick and calculated on having the documentary come out around about the same time that the film was coming out. Very smart on their end. Somebody got the end over there, but I think that people are naturally going to be like, oh, they did this just because, they're trying to ruin his legacy. But those were some of the things that was coming out during the trial that they wanted to ruin Michael's legacy. Now, the documentary, I want to get into this. I think was very well shot. It was very clear. Anytime that we're dealing with like a trial or a case, it's very clear who the protagonist and the antagonist is. Okay, we got the prosecutor and we got the defendant lawyer. That's it. You know what I'm saying? That's it. That's always it just is what it is. But I like the way that it told the story, and there were several like journalists who were featured in this. They had some close friends that were interviewed. There was a woman named Diane Diamond, who is a journalist. She had totes of just notes that she had written and that she had archived and all types of shit. I mean, the bitch was on her. She was on her A game. Okay, bitch, get on your campaign. Do you hear what I'm saying? So, very credible for what it's worth, or from an optic standpoint, is what I should say. But yeah, so there were a few people who you I felt like, wow, okay, they have some really good like players in here. Now another thing to note about this trial that happened in 2005 was that the judge did not allow cameras in the courtroom, which I feel was a good decision. But there was not the live reaction, there was not the verbatim, the transcripts. I don't know if anybody is going to be on YouTube reading the transcripts. I am not going to be doing anything like that, but I do want to get into it. So we start off with Bashar. The whole reason why the sex abuse, can I say sex abuse? Whatever. The allegations were brought forth was because of the Living with Michael Jackson documentary that came out with Bashar. Now, Bashar was famously interviewed or infamously interviewed Princess Diana, the late great, okay, and which she said that there were three people in her marriage. Now, I only know about Princess Diana because I was really into The Crown for a moment. I don't really do shows where it's a whole bunch of white people, but that was a show that I chose. And I really, really liked it. I just think they did a good job at casting all of the different things. So I do remember that. Like she was like, it was the third person in our marriage and it was quite crowded and whatever. So because Michael Jackson had an affinity for Diana or Diane Dirty Diana, ow, because of an affinity for Princess Diana, he said, I want to do an interview with him, not necessarily vetting him, not necessarily doing the proper research, or at least that's what his homeboy Henry has said. Because again, there were people who were there that was from Michael Jackson's side, and there were people that were there from, like the prosecutors and the sexual, experts and everything like this, child psychologists. So, um, pretty much Bashar knew that he was just going along to get along. And, he was just like, he knew that he was going to try to like kind of have a get you moment, a got you moment. And I think that he was kind of honest about that. I think they even interviewed Bashar. Yeah, Bashar was actually in this too. Bashar is a very interesting person because he doesn't make it convoluted to know that he's in it for the money and he's in it for the clout, babe. Okay, we do anything for clout. And when people are like that, whether you agree with their tactics or not, you kind of have to respect that that they're coming, right? And in that instance, Michael was manipulated because he's going under the guise of, well, this is a man who interviewed Princess Diana, and Michael really revered himself in a great way, right? And he's like, well, I want him to interview me too. One of the things that stood out to me though is that he said going up to the Neverland Ranch was very easy. He had no publicist, he had no PR, he had no lawyers around to say anything. And it was just kind of just like me and him in the home, and we're chilling. And I used that to my advantage. And so, because it was a documentary, he said that he spent a lot of time, shooting certain scenes. And then when he talked about the allegations that happened in 1993, that had happened well after they had spent months together. And that's important to note because when you are building a report, especially in like a journalist setting, you want your subject matter, whoever it may be, to be comfortable. The more relaxed the person is, the more information you can get out of them, the more honest and more raw and intimate the conversation can be. Bashar was masterful and craftful in allowing Michael to feel comfortable around him and invited him into his home and da, 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 da. And I think even if you remember that documentary, there were moments where you felt even Bashar was um enamored with Michael's star power, period. Anyway, whew, I feel like I'm wordy tonight. Am I wordy tonight, Chad? I think I'm always wordy, honestly and truly, because I have a lot to say. Okay. I mean, what did we say? I'm just saying, if I've got something to say, I'm just kind of like that a little bit. Sometimes I get into these modes and it's just like, okay. Okay. So, Michael's out of touch. Michael's completely out of touch. And even with them playing some of the film, like some of the footage back from the Michael Jackson situation, you can see just how out of touch he is. Okay. Just based off of like, how he's answering, how he's talking, how he's looking. Like he's just out of touch. Again, he had no PR, he had no real team around him. And during this time, it's important to paint the backdrop. Michael Jackson had become essentially Wacko Jacko, and he was at a certain point a recluse. He was by himself. He wasn't out. I don't know from 2003 up until that point if he was seen out publicly. The tabloids have been very, very critical of him, very mean to him. And I think that because also keep in mind, he was a person who was beloved by the media at a certain point. I know that has to have some sort of psychological damage to anybody. Okay. A bitch cut you off in traffic and take your parking spot. You thinking about it all day long. Like I should this motherfucker. So imagine you're growing up, you have the Jackson 5 cartoon, you have all of these different things, and you are America's sweetheart, America's love. And then now you are as an adult seen as Wacko Jacko. You kind of build an oasis in an insulated world. I'm painting the picture. Stay with me. An insulated world filled with people and staff and zookeepers and beekeepers and all types of shit. People, the chefs and mountains and mountains of staff, layers staff too, right? We're talking about the keepers, their assistants, and the supervisors over them, and then the groundsmen, and then like I'm talking, you are so insulated that you have enough money to buy privacy at a different level. More than privacy, you have access to, right? So Michael Jackson is no longer the mega superstar, well, still superstar, still the most famous person, but there is a change in the public and his perception. He's now inviting Bashar into his home, which Bashar has these secret aspirations, if you will, because he has now just secured an interview, an intimate interview in Michael Jackson's home after years of him being out of the media, front facing in the media, I should say. So anyway, um, Bashar's in the house. They doing their little 1-2. It was like, we're having these cute little moments, and he's showing me how to moonwalk, and we're doing all of these different things. And I remember that the one scene I love about Michael Jackson, if y'all remember anything about it, he's like, I have those, I have these, I have these, and then they were showing clips of his home a little bit. I'm like, was Michael a hoarder? Was Michael Jackson a little bit of a hoarder? Because like some of that shit, I'm like, damn, Mike, well, where's the space at? Okay, mama like it nice and tight and needy around here. Like, where is the space that he had fucking mannequins and dolls and pictures and glass and bottles and dragons and lions and tigers and bears? I'm like, all this shit, a little bit, it was giving hoarder. Okay. And he's like, I want those, I want these, I want this, I want this. I love that. I love that clip. Every time I see it, I'm just imagining because like he has like, these are 250,000. Yes, I want 2 of them. And so Mike was giving it up. He's giving it up. He's got money. He didn't give a damn. So Bashar knew in this particular day that he was going to go to his home and talk about the allegations and the eventual settlement, which everybody's estimating it to be like a $20 million settlement that he paid to the Chandler family. And he said during that time, he was kind of working himself up because I mean, this is the king of pop still. I mean, now I got to come in here and ask you about some shit like this. I mean, I couldn't imagine like that takes balls, real cojones. Shout out to my Spanish speakers. And I'm like, just watching him. He said, and that day just so happened, he tells me when I pulled up, like, I want you to meet somebody. And he's like, well, who do you want me to meet? This is Michael Jackson. He doesn't know who it is. And he said he goes into the living room or to, the kitchen area, whatever the case. And there's this small young child who he's saying he cured from cancer. And Bashar is gagged, okay? Or as in the documentary, gobsmacked that, when he was about to ask him, what are we, what about the allegations? And he now has this young boy, and the young boy's laying on his shoulder, and he's dreamily looking up at him. And, they're holding hands, they're locked in. And this is when Michael's like, yeah, it's nothing wrong with, you know, doing the bed, being in the bed with a kid. You guys are making it sexual. There's nothing wrong with it. Okay. And Bashar is like, well, do you think that let's see if I can pull this clip up. Michael Jackson. What was the boy named? Gavin. Michael Jackson and Gavin. And I think that like Michael Jackson didn't realize that he was going to be painted in a certain way, in a certain light. And it was very clear to Bashar. Okay, let's mute this really quickly. And then make sure we're liking, guys. Make sure you're liking the video while we're in here. So this is the big secret. Girl, let's get into this because I want y'all to see how this little boy was like on him. One of his brothers looked to be a hoarder. He was on Celebrity Wives. Okay, you clocked it too, Kate. One of his brothers looked to be a hoarder. He was on Celebrity Wife Swap. It was Jermaine who had the hoarder tendencies, and it does not surprise me that it was Jermaine because it seems to be it's always Jermaine. They had that Horton gene up on them. I could tell because some of the shit that Michael Jackson, I'm like, oof, that was a lot, Mike. You sure you need some more up on that thing? Okay, so this is the video.
When they've stayed in your house, they've stayed in your bedroom.
Well, very few.
But, some have. And they say, is that really appropriate for a man,
Yeah.
a grown man to be doing?
Is it showing for y'all
How
or
do you
no?
respond to that?
I feel sorry for them because that's judging someone who wants to really help people. Why can't you share your bed? The most loving thing to do is to share your bed with someone. You know?
You really think that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Of course.
You're taking the position that you use every single night that you go into, you sleep, and you're sharing it with another.
You said you can have my bed if you want. Sleep in it. I'll sleep on the floor. It's yours. Always give the best to the company, Like to him, I said, because he was going to sleep on the floor. I said, no, you sleep in the bed, I'll sleep on the
But
floor.
haven't you got a spare room or a spare house here where he could have stayed?
Yeah, but no, yes, we have guest units, but whenever kids come here, they always want to stay with me.
Okay.
They never want to.
So this is when it kind of got a little bit weird.
We were both very attached.
And I feel like Michael Jackson completely again like
They were happy
misreading the room, misreading all of it. And this is the part. This is the part that really I feel like got Michael Jackson caught up into these allegations again. This is what they said in the documentary. This is what they were talking about as far as like what made people the girl Diane Diamond, who was covering and did the news coverage for the 2003 ex abuse allegations. So when they saw this child, I don't know if you guys saw that. I don't know if it played, but whatever. So this boy was again looking up at him dreamily. Oh my gosh, Michael Jackson, yada yada yada, and all of the other people from 2000, I mean 1993 came out and was like, oh my gosh, it's Michael Jackson again. Um, okay, being around kids like that was irresponsible. Mm, okay. Well, he felt like, he was around kids because kids understood him. And a lot of people will argue that point all the way down to the ground. Michael Jackson was with the kids because, adults would be crazy about him and going off this, that, and the third and wanting money, but kids just wanted to be kids. And as y'all seen in the movie, they didn't even want to play Twister with the man. Maybe if the Jackson Fives played Twister with him, then maybe they would. He wouldn't be around all them kids. Okay. Maybe y'all ever think about something like this? Maybe if Jermaine wasn't a hoarder, maybe if they ain't perm their hair back in the 8th grade, things could have been different. But that's not what happened. So oh my God, child. Oh my God. I got this video on TikTok that's going viral. When I tell you these Africans is in my comments windmilling on me so bad, I just keep all of this like ding, 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 ding. Like they are like windmilling. They fighting me so bad about Tyler. I'm about to make a video about Tyler on YouTube for real because they like to fight me so bad about that girl. But yeah. So anyway, they're holding hands. He's laying on the shoulder. Anyway, whatever. So once this happens, the media coverage starts, to go crazy once it airs. He's again being, wacko jacko. He's still sharing beds. He didn't learn the first time. It's going on and on and on. And that's when the allegations and the thing starts to swirl. They start to hide the Arizos because they're trying to figure out who he is. And so what Michael's team is calling as the Sharks come back out to play. The Sharks are people who were involved in the 1993 scandal as media coverage, whether it was publication or print media, whatever, tabloids, and they wanted a piece. They're like, Michael has 10,000 people in his home, working in his home. So let's try to get some of these people. They eventually locate the kid. They verify that he did have cancer, and that Michael went to the hospital. Michael saved him, and they didn't have the insurance and like United Healthcare and all of these different things, which is still an issue today. These companies do not care. Your kids can be in the hospital. You have the wrong coverage, girl. They're gonna be sending you a bill, or they're gonna tell you got to take your kid out the hospital. And so things start to go a little haywire. So then after the scandal, once the family goes, silence, the scandal comes out that he alleges that Michael had, inappropriately touched him. I don't want to say it. It's gross to me. I don't want to get into it. Okay, let Diana Ross invite me where it's kid. That's what I'm saying. So when the allegations come out after the tabloids picked it up, after everybody's saying like, yeah, he's doing something to the boy Gavin, Romaine Blaine is hired, who apparently was a recommendation by Serena, who's a Black woman. This is the PR crisis coordinator type of thing. And she basically said, I believed Michael. Had I not believed Michael, I would not represented him. He asked me and he told me straight up, no, I did not do this. I believed him, and that's what it was, and we were moving forward, ever since then. So after that, The Arizos don't want money. They're trying to like, infiltrate. They're trying to do a whole bunch of shit. They're like, no, 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 no. Whatever, whatever. When they were hiding the Arizos because they didn't want this is before the allegations. They did not want people to infiltrate them. And they essentially made a video, which the prosecution is saying that was just like an insurance policy. And in the video, the little boy is laying his head on his mom's shoulder, and he's also holding her hands. And I don't know why. I don't know why you said that, Kate. But yeah, so like I think, Michael was smart at this point once the Bashar's documentary had come out. It was clear that they were going to start getting on the wacko jackal thing again. And the family started to intervene. The family started to act. They got Michael lawyers. They hired Romaine Blaine. They started to put things in place and they took the O'Reilly's in and said, we need to keep you safe. Right. And then suddenly something changed. Maybe the O'Reilly's didn't want to be there anymore. But, they said, well, no, you got to stay here because we don't want you to go out there. And then, like, you go out there and they offer you some money, this, that, and the third. But a lot of the people were saying that the Rebels were offered, but they just never took the opportunity to. Up until I think that they were at Neverland for a long time. And I just feel like something switched. I don't remember what the switch was, but they wanted to leave Neverland and they started to feel like maybe they couldn't leave Neverland because then they would have access to the outside world and everything like this. This is when the allegations happen. So once the allegations happen, Michael then have a private detective starts to follow them and try to get information about them. And the mother then retains a lawyer who was like, well, basically one of the sharks who were out to get Michael, right? And in the investigation of the private investigator, we find out that the mom has had, some sort of lawsuit at J.C. Penney. Gavin was caught stealing and, got into a tussle with the security guard. They chased the boy outside. The mom alleges that the security guard rapes her and she gets a $152,000 settlement from J.C. Penney. Now, this is all happening while Gavin is seeing a child psychologist who also, the prosecutor is working with the state and their private lawyer. And this is when it gets picked up in California in the county of Santa Barbara. Girl, it's a lot. So they show the footage of Gavin as a child, prepubescent, sitting down, talking to experts and explicitly explaining what happened to I would like to know more about Jermaine's and this is the prosecutor, guys. He was good. He said from what I saw in the body language, he seemed to be a child who was abused. He's like, it's hard for most adults to come out and talk about things that have happened to them, let alone a child to come out and say those things. And Gavin was, displaying signs of a child who had been violated. He talked about body language. His body has sunk in. He was playing, with his fingers. He was looking down almost because it's so gross and it's so disgusting. You don't want to even say it. Think about it, let alone, and then say it, profess it out loud to strangers you don't know. So the prosecutor was very emotional and hell-bent on, oh, well, this kid, I've seen this case thousands of times. And he was a specific type of prosecutor in the sense that anytime it was involving sex crimes, they would specifically use him to try the cases. So he is tried and true. He is, deemed to be like an expert, if you will. And he's like bulletproof a little bit. So after this, they said that in the testimony, Gavin said that Michael would give him Jesus juice, which was alcohol. Now I believe that a little bit. That's a little black because what people don't realize is Michael Jackson was still black, and they disclosed a black briefcase, which had pornographic images in it, and they described the home, right? And so once they collected the information and got his testimony. These people decided, well, we're going to get a we're gonna get a search warrant and we're gonna search Neverland. And so that happens and that happens. And one of the things they said was like, Michael Jackson's home, the actual property itself was huge, but it was a Tudor style home, meaning it had like those England medieval type of beams and everything like this. Peace and love to you, Azor. I appreciate you so much. Thank you. I appreciate the love, brother. I didn't watch the documentary. Did they talk about how Gavin played The Way You Make Me Feel at his wedding? No. Yes, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the things they did not say. No, they did not. No. Oh my God. No. I did not know that. No, because I want to get into Wade Robinson too. No. Oh my God. Ooh. Please stick around because I need your input. Thank you so much for coming through and supporting the channel. I appreciate you. Much love to you. Okay. The love you pouring into me may it come back to you tenfold. So Gavin's a trip. And so was that mama. Well, anyway, Tudor style home, medieval English type of situation, like cottage, think like cottage or whatever. I don't know if you've ever seen the Neverland Red. You probably have. But Michael essentially had like a locked door, which opened up another wing to the house. Now, the kids had access to the code. Parents did not, which gave them access to the other side of the home, which, had a whole, mannequins, the dolls, lions, tigers, and bears. He was low-key a hoarder. And then upstairs, you could go, like it was like a hallway, a staircase upstairs. Then there was a loft. Now in the loft, there was a king-size bed with no bullshit, y'all. It looked like iridescent, Swarovski crystal, bedding, a bed sheet, whatever. And above it was a picture that like kind of resembled the Last Supper, but in the Last Supper, Michael Jackson was in the center. Girl, I just heard something. Hold on, y'all, because it be animals and stuff that be in my backyard. And when I tell you, what was that? And did they lock all this stuff up? Y'all, I had it was a raccoon that was on my roof the other day, and he ain't there no more. I tell you that much. But it be like little animals and stuff. Like I gotta be like serious about shit because not over here, not on my watch. So MJ had 14 charges, some felony, others misdemeanor. If he did something, why did he get found not guilty? He was acquitted on everything, and the FBI investigated him for 10 years and found nothing. Why do you think? Why do you think that is? But anyway, so they were describing a home. Michael Jackson's in the center. The Last Supper. He's in the center. It's like Albert Einstein, whatever. And I agree with you. The justice system is crazy. So yeah, we're going through, and when they conduct the search, it's actual camera, like body cam footage. The police officers, I want to say, are a little excited to be there. You can kind of hear it in their voice. Oh, damn. Do we have music? Oh, like, you know what I mean? Like you could tell that they were a little excited. Thank you, Kate. Thank you for the sub. I appreciate you. Like and subscribe, y'all. Thank you. Azora, make sure you stick around. I want you to watch it, but it's good. It's very well crafted and very well done. So you can hear the excitement. I mean, yeah, you're investigating some child molestation charges, but it's still Michael Jackson in his home. I mean, it's elephants, giraffes, and all these different things. You have so much to cover. But they find the loft, and it's what Gavin described: the picture, the sheets, fanboys very much so, and the briefcase. And the briefcase contained magazines that had graphic images in it, one being Barely Legal, which featured images of very young girls, very young looking girls and boys who were barely legal. Another one of the magazines that were in there was called Naked Blue Jay. Now I looked up these things because I don't want to put it up here, but I did look them up because I'm just like that. Like, what was the issue? What was the image, right? And it gave like it wasn't like what was those magazines that all of the black guys used to look at back in the day? Y'all know them little nasty ghetto magazines they used to have and shit. I don't, somebody will know. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I don't remember it, but it was like Playboy, whatever. And once they find, uh, once they find all of the evidence that kind of corroborates the boy's allegation, they then put out a warrant for Michael Jackson's arrest. And he's not home. He's not present. Hustler. Was it Hustler? I think it was something else too. But it was more like the people in prison would want them. Not Jet Ebony. It was like more urban. Was it Hustler? What was it? Y'all know what I'm talking about. It was like the magazines. It was real raunchy. No, it was proof of the magazine. No, they actually found the magazines. They actually found the magazines in the black briefcase to which Gavin described in his confession or whatever the case. They found it. And it was where it would be is he described it to a T. He described where it was, he described the room, he described what the magazines were and where they were located. When they go to Neverland, they find it exactly where he said that they were. No, now y'all going, no. It's not no damn Essence. It was like double XL or like I remember. Wait, hold on. And it was like one of the like, how the girls used to have like swim model of the year or whatever. What the fuck? Like double XL. I think that's what it is. Double XL. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. The double XL magazines when they were like a little raunchy. But I'm pretty sure it was some other ones too. Maybe it was double XL. Like whoever got those Urban Sexy. Was it Urban Sexy magazine too? Yeah, it was probably Urban. And they had all of the video girls. Remember all of the video girls used to be on this thing? Whatever. I don't want to get fixated. So, what is barely legal? Barely legal. Either you are legal or you're not. Exactly. No, truly, Will. Come on, Will, with a word. Come on, Will, with a word. Either you are or you not. Okay, playing to those little childish, kiddish fantasies, right? I'm with you. I'm picking up when you putting down. Either you are or you ain't. Is you is or is you ain't my baby. So, anyways, he has a warrant out for his arrest, and he's nowhere to be found. So people were, speculating he left the country. Da, da, da. Anyway, he ended up being in Las Vegas. Now they're talking about Michael Jackson being in Las Vegas. They're wondering when he was going to kind of like turn himself in. Several days had went by and he was kind of like under the radar. Nobody knew that he was in Las Vegas. People came out and said that, he would come to the door with a mask on and a brightly colored muumuu, just get the food and shut the door. But my whole thing is, if it's Michael Jackson, surely he can have somebody go into the room, or go get the room service or the food or whatever the case, without even having to go to the door. So this woman, what was her name? Diane Diamond really had it out for him. She is someone who would be considered a shark, who was in the tabloids, who was a journalist. Penthouse, yes, thank you. That's one too. Yep. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I don't know why y'all so quiet now. Everybody quiet in the chat like y'all ain't never see the magazines. Okay, y'all got me out here looking like I'm the only one. Penthouse, yes, absolutely. But this is not what Michael Jackson had. Michael Jackson had Barely Legal and the Naked Jaybird. Okay, he ain't had all of those in there. He just had the little, you know, the white pornographic image. He had the white pornographic images. Okay, so we know you got all the magazines. Nah, I ain't got all the magazines. I ain't got none. Actually, I was just saying. I remember what I remember. But anyway, so Diane is coming out and she's like, he was in Las Vegas, da, 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 and she was pissed because he was able to negotiate his surrender. Now, Diane says that Michael Jackson, during the time that he was over at the Neverland Ranch, was partying so hard with some German teenage boys, and he was, when the room was finished, there was liquor bottles everywhere and cigarette butts everywhere, and he was over there wilding and partying and drinking and binging. There was a lot of drugs and drinking and this, that, and the third. And I'm thinking to myself, well, damn, bitch, well, were you there? And I tried to get some information about this. Okay, I'll drop it in the chat. I tried to get some information about this, about some German teenage boys that Michael Jackson apparently or allegedly was with, and I couldn't find anything. And I wanted to just kind of see if anybody else had kind of reported on that. I looked at some posts from the Las Vegas Times, Sun Times or whatever. And what I found was that Michael Jackson was associated with a Wolf family, the German Wolf family. He was friends with this guy, and he had knew his children from a very early age, since they were toddlers, and they were visiting him in Vegas and potentially had linked up with him. Now, is the story true? Is it not? Could the liquor bottles have been there because he was drinking? Now, apparently Michael liked the Jesus juice, which is alcohol. He would put it in the soda cans. He would put it in little water bottles. He would put it in the treats for the people or for the children and have a little piece of Jesus juice. Now, what they do over in Germany, I don't know. We know them people like to drink. I don't know. I'm not making no excuses. I'm just saying. The lady has said he was over there partying and drinking and getting his shit on over there with the teenage German boys at the Mirage Hotel during the time in the search of the Neverland Ranch. Okay. Now I'm giving y'all all of this because we ain't getting nothing out the Michael Jackson movie. All right. We learned some new. I didn't know that was the rumor that was circulating around. So he negotiates his he allegedly. Okay, allegedly. Allegedly. That's what the lady has said. The lady has said that the lady on the screen is the one who said that. So she ends up, being really pissed off that Michael Jackson was able to negotiate his surrender. And they're showing him coming in. The reporters, yes, we see Michael Jackson. He's coming in. He's coming in hot in his PJ, freshly coiffed and flipped hair, babe. And he's walking out and he's doing his 1-2. And he gets off the thing. He's walking off the runway and he goes, and then they arrest him. And they put the handcuffs on him. The car was outfitted with audio because they did not want to be accused of harassment or excessive force and all of these different things. And I thought, wow, like even Michael Jackson during that time, like was still very much a black man. Like, what? Y'all didn't we who would think that anybody would try to beat up Michael Jackson? You know what I mean? Not only if he was a black man. You get what I'm saying? Like the car was outfitted with audio to make sure that there was no accusation of excessive force. Wow, interesting. So he gets there and he's like, guys, could you turn on the air, please? It's really hot, and they go and they get the mugshot. And now the mugshot, they said that they were this woman here on the screen. She's like, I was just appalled. She just looked so ghoulish. He looked so bizarre. I want to see if I can pull it up for you guys. It was like the moment in time that we realized, like, wow, like he is in and register in the American, um, you know, child, he looked like motherfucking Catherine in this thing. Okay. He looking like Catherine. Catherine, is it you, baby? He looked like his mama. You your mama's son, right? It's not funny. I ain't laughing at him. I'm just saying he looked like he do look like his mom in this. But they had the reaction live. She was just like, when he came up on the screen, it was like, a deer in headlights. And I just couldn't believe it that, Michael Jackson, the king of pop, is coming out and he's looking the way that he's looking. I mean, it was just unbelievable to me. And it just made it so real. I ain't gonna fool around with this. But they said it. Who said that? I did not see that. I did not hear that, and I did not see that, and I did not hear that. Um, so that's when it kind of became real to people, right? So anyway, at this point, he's out on bond and he starts coordinating and reaching out to all of his associates. And there was one of his associates who, they were coming together. This is a witch hunt. They did this before. We're not going to do it again. And there was this one guy who was just like, I had some stuff from Michael Jackson and it was an old friend who swore up and down. I think it was like one of the alleged victims. And he was like, yeah, me and Michael, we never did anything like that. He's never done that to me, but I have some things here. So if you have anything from the Neverland Ranch, I need you to get rid of it in case that your home is searched and you're subpoenaed. And so he said he went to go retrieve a bag from this man. And he said something, he got this eerie feeling about him. And he opened up the bag, which was a Nike bag, apparently, like one of those little backpacks. And what's that, baby? Water? You should not be drinking no water this late, baby girl. Don't come right there. Put it right here. Come here. Just a little sip, okay? Just one little piece. Go ahead. Go ahead, mommy. All right, that's it. Okay? Okay, go in now. I love you so much. Okay, I love you so much. So she, child, hold on. Pause. Not you, baby. Not you, mommy. You're perfect. You're great. You're protected. So when he looks into the little Nike little thing, and he opens it up, more magazines, right? And in the magazines, there is, videos that you can buy, apparently, allegedly. In the videos or in the magazine, it was like, they have all of the images and the footage of this, right? It's like very gross um videotapes allegedly of acts between parents and children and all of these different things. I don't want to say because it's really gross and triggering. And they were all circled, or a few were circled. And he said he called him and said, what is this? And he said, oh, me and Michael had went through a phase and it was just some films that he was interested in getting. We never really did anything about it, but it was just a phase that we were going through. And it was just nothing. And he said at that moment, my heart dropped, my heart sank, and I just had to remove myself. I don't remember who this guy is or what the Royal Association was, but that was his story. That was his song. And that's what he said. Okay. I'm just here to tell y'all what the fuck happened. So after that, after the search, the people are kind of coming together, and they're trying to get ready and prepare for court. And the first day of court is essentially Michael Jackson. He's awake at 4 a.m., and they interviewed his security guard. And the security guard, if you know anything about him, is a black guy. He's been with Michael Jackson for a really long time, and is like a regular black dude, right? He talks about Michael in a really human way. And he's like, Michael, I remember that day he woke up at 4 a.m. and he was, toned down, but, well dressed. He was still Michael Jackson. His makeup was done nicely. And he goes out and he's like rolling down the window. And he's like, that there have been people making threats about him. We don't want you. And, da, 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 da. And him as head of security guard, had security, he had to make sure that he was looking at all of the points, where they were weak at, where they were compromised, because there had been threats towards his life. And Michael would say, yeah, but the fans and the fans and the fans and the fans and the fans. And so, he recognized that he recognized that um he recognized that Michael Jackson was still going to want to be with his fans, right? And so because he wanted to be with his fans, he kind of just let them be, rolled down the windows, and there was this huge fanfare. I mean, an unbelievable amount of fanfare, like, love from Poland, Canada loves you. People were driving down. There were news reporters from Taiwan, from Japan, from Mexico. Everybody was there. And when he got out there, he literally stands up. This is the infamous part where he stands up on the car and he's, waving at everybody. Hey, y'all, this, that, and the third. And I know I remember that, like, oh my God, like, what is he gonna do? Like moonwalk, and a little piece of entertainment, if you will, because Michael Jackson is an entertainer, right? And even the people that were probably there to not be on his side felt the energy of Michael Jackson and what the fanfare was, what the weight of that actually looks like and translate. And he said, what do people do when they go to court? They hide their faces. They do all those things. They don't get up on top of cars and show people. It's like, I didn't do this shit, right? So Michael Jackson was aware of the optics. And that lets me know that he was also aware of the negative ones too. This is probably why he was so negatively impacted on how he looked, how he dressed, wacko jacko, and the whole everything. That part I think really, really stood out to me because he had been a recluse up until this point, right? He had been kind of isolated from his fans, just in the Neverland Ranch. He hasn't been on tour for years now at this point. And so now you have all of these people coming out to him, and it's Michael, Michael, Michael. He's getting the fulfillment, if you will, of that love from his true fans who are driving down from motherfucking Canada. Okay. And it's like, yeah, I'm gonna need that. Run me that. I'm Michael fucking Jackson. Never forget it. All right. And I think that kind of that first day sets the tone to a degree of not only are we up against these major crimes, but there are major crimes that are possibly committed from the most famous person in the world. Top flight security of the world, Craig. That's a different conversation. So anyway, they introduced the jurors, okay? And I don't even have a picture of the jurors. I should have, but the jurors is really interesting. They have juror 8. She said she grew up watching him. She loved him. Okay. She's an older woman. She was talking about fangirling. Jury number 6 was a 23-year-old woman. She said she got chosen for the jury selection on her 23rd birthday. And she said she wanted to be very careful that she was going to make the right decision because she did not want to wrongly put someone in jail, potentially for the rest of their life. But then also, too, she doesn't want a PDF to run free. I mean, the weight of that is very serious. And then we're introduced to Tom Mesereau. He's a motherfucker, okay? He's a motherfucker that you need when you are up. right? He is famously or infamously known for representing clients who are being faced with life sentences, kind of like the indignant clients a little bit. Um, and I think he also represented Bill Cosby, if I'm not mistaken. It's always like a little ring. It's always a little great in the situation. It's always a little in a situation with him. But he's a very high profile, Harvard educated lawyer who is from the East Coast, right? He's a very well decorated lawyer and well respected, but he's not respected more or less for his academic. He's really respected for his ability to cross-examine in his performances in the trial in the courtroom, right? So people think lawyer is just like, oh, I'm lawyering because I know the laws, but a part of lawyering is to the ability to influence and persuade. Tom is a master at what he does. So Tom is introduced. He's a defense attorney, and he's up there with his little George Washington wig, and then we're up against the prosecutor, which he's a very heartfelt, bleeding heart kind of like social worker kind of guy. And the first witness is none other than Bashar. Now, I think it's interesting that Bashar is the first witness because all of this whole can of worms is opened up because of the documentary that Bashar has introduced to the public, right? With ill intention. He never wanted to show Michael in a human way. He always wanted to have a salacious documentary so that way his name could be, written down as I'm just that girl. And on the stand, he did not really give the people what they wanted. He was not a star player for the prosecution. And in his interviews, he said, I was basically told by the company to say, I can't really say yes or no to this question. And, it was really quite telling because a part of the reason why we're here today, Bashar, is because of your documentary. And this is also, too, and I'm thinking to myself, this is a piece of content that was carefully created and crafted. So, you can tell a story. We can have the same story. If I have a perception, I'm going to paint it out to be one way. If we're drawing a picture, you're going to paint it out a completely different way. And so art is subjective. They played the whole entire documentary in this courtroom. And one of the most interesting pieces about this is that when, there was so much music that was included in the documentary that the courtroom is kind of the way you making me feel. They kind of bopping and dipping and, dirty Diana. They kind of hitting the shit too. Which, a bop is about this is music that has been a part of American history. Okay. This is Michael Jackson is Americana at this point, right? So I think that Bashar being the first witness did not have the impact on which they thought it would because he didn't answer the questions that they wanted to. And the music and the documentary kind of outweighed the impact. Which again is pointing to how we understand celebrity culture and how we understand just how we treat Americans. I mean, how we treat celebrities in American culture is what I'm trying to say. So after the prosecution kind of tiptoe around Bashar because they can't really do much with him, they can't really say too much because Bashar was, pretty much advised from his lawyers from the TV production to not say anything. Tom Mesereau cleared him. He cleared him. He basically said, you wanted to smear this. You wanted to be the one. You wanted to have a media splash. You wanted your career to be back on top ever since that Diana interview. You wanted this. And the jurors who were interviewed basically said that we felt that he was a manipulator. Right? And perception means something, especially in the court of law. And you're supposed to be judged by, your peers. Okay. And these are people who are very excited to be close to Michael. One of them said, oh wow, he's actually a real person. Okay. So yeah, they're gonna really be on the witnesses to make sure these people are quote unquote credible. Peace and love to you. Yes, Mike got such a bad rep. Rest in peace to the all-time king of pop. I mean, yeah. Yeah. So after the Bashar questioning, um, he said the first day was rough, right? So after the 6th day of the trial, this is when the brothers are going to be critical witnesses, right? So the two brothers, Gavin and the other brother, Star. So um Star basically says that he asked his parents to spend the night in his room, and the kids knew the combination, da da da, this, that, and third. And he goes through the whole thing, to which Gavin basically said, they pretty much said the same story. And once he's talking to Star, the prosecution is running him through everything that was already said before, what we already know, what they already said in 2003, the reason why we're here. Up until the point that Tom Mazzaro asks Star, so he showed you this magazine, right? And he's like, yeah, it was the magazine. Okay. He's like, oh, he showed you this magazine. He's like, yes. And after that, he showed the magazine. And he made us do da da da. He showed us the magazine. He's like, are you sure it's this magazine? He's like, yes, it's this magazine. After he pretty much just said, yeah, the exact same magazine that you're holding in your hand, it's the same one that he showed us that motherfucking night that he did all the shit. Tom Mazzaro pulls a aha, I got you moment, because this actual magazine didn't come out until way after you all have been on Neverland or at the Neverland Ranch. So you're a liar. You're lying then and you're lying now. Which one is it? You said this was the magazine. It's not. Okay. So obviously something's not adding up, right? So the inconsistencies in the story, they kind of break it down to a scientific level. Okay. So again, Michael Jackson had a Tudor style home, meaning like it was long corridors. There was all of these different things that kind of would have alerted if somebody was coming up. He said that he witnessed the abuse, the alleged abuse. But if he's coming in through the combination, there's going to be a bell that goes off, right? Michael would have kept going or stopped. Then through the hallway, you open that door, another bell would ring. If Michael was still engaged and he would have heard them, he would have stopped. Then to go on the loft, if you've ever been to a loft, like, you can kind of like look over, it's like a balcony, to kind of look down. He said, you went through three bells, three corridors. And, if your brother was passed out off the Jesus juice, hell, Michael could have played drunk too. Baby, please do not come over here. Please. No. You know absolutely better. Please do not come over here. Don't do that, baby. You know that. Go ahead. Go lay down. Girl, I will have a heart attack. I do not play that game. Ayla, you know better. So, ooh, girl. Girl. My body just got warm, y'all. Woo, baby. My body just got warm. Child. Anyway, so he points out all of the inconsistencies. He was cleared, right? And I think that was like really kind of important, because we're already kind of showing and developing some inconsistencies with the stories with the brother of the star witness. And, that's important to know. So the next day, we know that we're going to have Gavin on the stand, right? And black security guy says, hey, about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, I get a phone call from Michael, say, hey, I fell. He has some sort of gash or scratch on his face. And he said he needs help, and he goes to the hospital. And then when he goes to the hospital, I'm just thinking about it now, because the man has said he had cut his face or something like this. When he showed up to that courtroom, he ain't had no cut on his face. So okay. He said he goes to the hospital, and he's like, they inject him with something, and he's like, I don't know what it was, but he's still saying he's in pain. He's like, okay, 4 o'clock rolls around. He's like, he's still in pain. 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock rolls around. He's like, tell him, Kenny, tell him I'm still in pain. I need some help. And, the doctors at the hospital tell him, we can't give him anything else. We've given him enough sedatives basically to put out an elephant. Okay, we can't give him anything else. And so, by 8:30, he's doing court at 8. By 8:30, he's still at the hospital. Yeah, what he said was he got him out the bed at 2 o'clock, helped him to the hospital. He just threw something on really quick with some pajamas on. And so 8:30, the judge is calling and he's calling the hospital. And he's like, well, you gotta be here. And so essentially Michael Jackson pulled the I'm sick, or maybe he didn't, maybe he really fell. Maybe he really fell, maybe he really hurt himself, or maybe, hell, he needed a little piece of sedative to get that angst up off him. Okay. He was facing life. Michael fucking Jackson. Bitch, I would need to go to the hospital too. Somebody call the ambulance. Do you hear me? Not the ambulance. I need the ambulance. So judge says, I don't give a damn what's going on over at that motherfucking hospital. Michael Jackson need to be here in an hour, or I'm going to hold him in contempt. I'm going to revoke the bond and he's going to be in jail. And so the security says, well, I just knew that was a setup. They're trying to set him up because from here to Santa Barbara, it's going to be at least an hour. And then we have to go to the courtroom. And so I had to literally grab and say, Michael, we have to go now. Okay. And, they have 1 hour to get him there. That all of his whole, barricade, they're like driving really fast to get there. And, kind of like, I don't want to say like a spectacle, but it was a spectacle. It was like, if he's not here in an hour, your client is going to jail. All right. And he's just leaving the hospital. He is he's very slow. He's very, sedated. And he shows up in the famous or infamous, I keep saying famous, photo of Michael Jackson showing up to court in his pajama pants. So he showed up to court because he was in the hospital from a fall the night before, getting a little piece of that propofol. Honestly, let's call it what it was, girl. He wanted a piece of that propofol. I wouldn't be able to sleep either. The fuck? And he shows up to court. And it was almost like a sign and a signal, like, we don't care that you're Michael Jackson. Get your black ass here. Okay? We don't care. You supposed to be in court? Be in court. Make it work. Like Smokey Mama said, make it enough. He show up. He walking. Okay? Full on. And I'm not even saying it was a performance. He did look high. They said he was looking ghostly. He was looking past people. People were having to hold him up. And he finally makes it to a seat. And they said he sits down, and they said he slumps down first and melts into the chair. Whatever that may look like on a Michael Jackson. So they get to court. Finally, he's in his pajamas. Gavin is testifying. Okay. So one of the family friends said that Michael Jackson showing up in those pajamas is making himself the victim. Look at me. They're making me show up here and I'm fucking hurt. And I'm Michael Jackson. Okay. I'm Michael Jackson, Jack. Y'all making me show up here and they're going to force my hand to do this and do that. And it doesn't even matter. Look at how bad they're doing me, is what he said. But knowing what we know now, Michael Jackson was dealing with addiction. He went to the hospital to get heavier drugs. The day before, the star witness is going to testify in my mind. The fuck? Yeah, I'm going to need that, doc. I need some more of that. And honestly, there are people who are addicted to anesthesia who will break a bone. They like the feeling of going under. I'ma hold my breath until you feel it in your chest when I go under. It's getting late, y'all. Yeah, I know what happens when it get late. All right, I'm gonna try to keep it on there. I'm gonna try to keep it on there. After that, okay, he ends up going to, to testify. And when he's testifying, Gavin comes on and he is, giving a great testimony. This is the star witness, and he's saying he's going through the whole thing, and he did all of these things. I'm saying that in a roundabout way only because I don't like to talk like that. I just don't. I don't like to say it. I don't like to talk it. I don't like to speak it. But I know what the allegations were, and they're saying that Gavin appears to be a kid, but he's smart and he's honest. He seems credible. They said that the abuse happened twice. It only happened twice, and he was, comfort him afterwards, and he was, letting him wear his pajamas and all of these different things. And they asked him, "Do you miss Michael Jackson?" And he said, "Yes. Yes, I miss Michael." I mean, why the fuck would you not? He even flew you and your family around. I mean, this was a family who was very impoverished, who lived in a 1-bedroom apartment, a studio apartment, 2 boys, 1 mom. So when Michael Jackson's lawyer came up, Tom Mesereau, it changed completely. The prosecution talked to him like a child. Okay. Tom Mesereau came up and said, "Mr. Arrivo." Okay. That completely changes the dynamic because you're no longer just a 15-year-old kid. You are now Mr. Arrivo, adultifying him. These are all tactics now. He said, "Mr. Arrivo," and the kid said, Mr. Macero, Tom Macero, whatever his name was. And everyone said, "Oh, immediately we saw something completely different. We saw a 15-year-old rebellious person, a rebellious kid, because from 2003 and 2005, it was a shift, from the testimony that he gave in 2003 until 2005. He is in a rebellious teenage mood. He's hormonal. They have a different energy about them. He's, prepubescent in the interview. Now he's pubescent and it's showing. Right. And so, he kind of come off as combative and maybe not as a star witness in the way that he wanted him to. One of the things that really stood out to me was the fact that he claimed that Michael Jackson told him that you need to please yourself so that way you don't grape women. But it was reported that he had said that before, that that's something that his grandma used to say. So it's like, did your grandma say it or did Michael Jackson say it? And so what he did was start to cast doubt on the child's credibility, his memory. And he ended up being a star witness for the defense and not necessarily prosecution. Okay. So once Michael Jackson is essentially winning in court, the judge decides, well, we are going to allow evidence from old allegations into this case. Now, I don't know if you guys follow any kind of court cases or watch true crime. I watch a lot of true crime. And that's usually like one of the things where they are really, really working with the state and they really, really want that shit to work. So we know that the first allegation happened in 1993. So it's more than just this one kid who's saying something and they are maybe not as credible or seem a little fugazi or whatever. So now we can reach back into the 1993 file and they can call all those people for it. And he paint him more or less like a serial predator because they all just can't be lying. They all can't just be money hungry. And they're just saying the same things, right? And so Jordy Chandler was the case where he settled for about, everybody speculates, from $20 to $23 million. Now, if they can illustrate the pattern of him just being like, well, it's one thing if he had a situation with this one family, but it's something different if all of these children are coming forth. That means that he has a propensity to commit sexual crimes. They start to go after the Neverland staff because there are so many of them. And, the Neverland staff kind of starts to speak up. So there were staff workers who came up. One name was Blanca. I remember Blanca. It ended up being a really, really weird, bad case with her. She ended up getting paid $20,000 for a tabloid story. Hell, if I lose my job at the Neverland Ranch, bitch, I might fuck around and I work with Michael Jackson. I ain't on no NDA. Hell yeah, girl. And what else? What else need to be said? Okay, and they're disgruntled employees. More than disgruntled employees, bitch. You are a disgruntled employee when you're leaving fucking McDonald's. You worked for one of the biggest stars in the world. You no longer have access to that money. Hell, even the proximity of being around the whimsy and the magic of Neverland. Hell yeah, I'm disgruntled. I ain't never gonna find a job like this, bitch. I can only Elvis. You know what I mean? You could work at the fucking gravesite. You know what I mean? Taking care of the Coliseum. Like, what are we gonna do? So Blanca said that she reported that she seen Wade in the shower with Michael. The chef said, you know, he saw him with Jordy Chandler, and this was interesting. He said that they saw them playing video games, and I saw his left hand on top of his pants while they were playing video games. And I'm like, well, if he was playing a video game, don't you need two hands to do that? Well, maybe he said Jordy was playing a video game. I don't know. Blanca had a son and Jason kept, his said they same thing happens to him. His hands on top of his pants. He said, how long did it happen? He was like 2 cartoons worth. Now, this is all information that's also coming from this woman right here, Diane Diamond, who again had totes of notepads of questions and answers that she had handwritten as a journalist in the peak of her career when she was documenting all of the Michael Jackson cases. Okay. So Michael Jackson teams comes out, went after everybody's reputation, which nobody's going to come back clean. Nobody's going to come back spotless. Everybody has done something, especially when there is a potential big payday. Hell, something happens and see, she was hit in a car accident and whatever, blah 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 blah. Okay, human nature. Diane Diamond has been after MJ since I was in the 7th grade. I remember her well. Yeah. She had a lot to say and a lot to do with Michael Jackson and the whole everything. She had a lot to say and spoke a lot in the docuseries as well. So MJ scene is on it, whatever. The prosecution brings in June Chandler, which is Jordy Chandler's mother. I think this was the one that was this was a lot for me. I'm gonna be honest. So she brings in Jordy. He brings in the mom, June Chandler, and this is when Diane really starts to shine. Diane talks about all of her notebooks from 1993. Jordy was interviewed at the dad's house at the time that they were divorced, and this is what she mentioned. All of the people who was situated never had a father present in the home, which predators in general go after families who are broken. I'll just put it like that. So, long story short, all of their stories started to match. All of their stories just started to match. June Chandler's testimony was riveting. Okay. It was like a whirlwind. He was grooming her. They traveled the world together. We did everything together. They're showing all the pictures and everything like this, and they're out and about. And it was just like she didn't know that her life could even be this way. And one day he came to her and said, "You don't love me? We are a family. You won't let Jordan be with me. You won't let him be with me. You don't trust me. You don't love me. Why won't you? We're a family." And she said from that point on, he always slept with Michael. From one sleepover to now, you don't love me. You don't trust me. We're your family. I'm your family. So now every time Jordy is sleeping with Michael. Now I'm a parent, I'm a mother, and I'm a mamacita, and I'm a big mama. Okay. I don't give a damn who it is. Right? Let's just say everything in the milk was clean. At a certain point, You want your child. You want to lay with your kid. You want to lay with your own baby. Like, damn, you don't want to give me a hug, bro? Right? Like, let's take the allegations out of it. As a parent, you're going to want to lay with your own kid. I don't care if it was Michael Dammit Jackson and he had no allegations, right? Because that's something completely different. Because that's what everybody will say. I don't think he did it, but he couldn't lay up to my kid because it's not normal. But what I'm saying is, as a parent, you want to lay next to your child. Stop me when I'm wrong, somebody. Okay. So at that point, it reminded me of something that happened with Gavin and Gavin's brother. They had like little photographs and little the Polaroid Kodak pictures, whatever. And it would come out and be like, I love you so much, Michael. Your son, Gavin, right? Like you're my family. We love you. And the mom was writing pictures. You know, back in the day, used to write at the bottom of the pictures. They were doing the same thing. So basically that just reminded me of that. Like, that's interesting. She would get Cartier bracelets, she would get diamonds and da, da, da. And it was also revealed that she hasn't seen her son in 11 years. And it's possible that Jordy potentially blames her. While you got diamonds and you just saw this as a moment to fly around the world, I was sleeping with Michael Jackson and those things happened to me, allegedly. The fact that the son had not seen the mom in 11 years, what do y'all think? What do you guys think? Okay. And she was obviously very hurt and torn, and her testimony was impactful. After that, they interviewed Janet Arrivo, which is Gavin Arrivo's mom. They said that her testimony was insecure, conflicted, and she was just emotionally traumatized. She was all over the place. She said that she was kidnapped in hot air balloon. Peace and love, Barbie. How are you, sister? Okay. And they kind of played into her checkered past. They played into her checkered past. They talked about her lawsuit. They talked about everything like this. And they also played that video that showed them saying, we love Michael. Michael's great. Michael is the best thing that ever happened to our family. And no, I don't think that he did anything like this. Like, look at how my child is sitting with me. He's holding my hand right now. This is who we are. This is how we do as a family. Right. And they mentioned the welfare fraud. Basically trying to discredit her. Now, I wanted to say this right here. A lot of welfare fraud has been happening, and so the social workers is over there still in the people shit. All right. We just had a crackdown in Delaware. 6 people stole over $1 million in people's food stamps. Okay. The food stamp scam is real. But I wanted to say this right here. And I'm going to say this. I'm going to just say it because it's unrelated, but it's important. Just because a person commits a crime, okay, does not mean that a crime cannot be committed on them or against them. It's like saying that a prostitute is doing something illegal. Sure. But they can also still be harmed and victims of a crime. But if we're talking about credibility in terms of being money hungry against a celebrity who has a huge amounts of wealth that can easily be accessed, if I just trip and fall, the monkey, the Neverland Ranch, the allegations, it changes. And just thinking about how things are being perceived, this is a woman, single mom. She already had the lawsuit with JCPenney's. You already got the welfare fraud. Okay. And even if she did have the money, shit, hell, I don't gotta say it, do I? Okay. Y'all been to the grocery store lately? Anyway, She goes onto the stand, and they said that Tom's argument against her was surgical. She was incoherent. She was rambling. One day she's meek. I'm a mother. The next day, I don't care. Y'all don't believe me. They said she was looking at the drawers and pointing to them. You don't believe me. Okay. So Miss Girl got up on the stand and was really giving it up. Really giving it up. And to her point, and to the prosecution's point, this is a woman who has sustained a tremendous amount of psychological abuse, blame, guilt, having to deal with her children and all of these different things, who allegedly experienced, crimes from at the hands of the biggest superstar in the fucking world. I don't know how, on a best day, how can you handle under the best of circumstances? How could somebody handle some shit like that? Right? Something to consider. So, we're on day 38. All right. Debbie Rowe is on the prosecution side. Now, Debbie Rowe was a mom of Blanket and Basket, Blanket in Paris, whatever. And it was a gag. Like, first of all, you had that man's babies. You said it was a gift. That y'all got married. Now you got the ex-wife over there, and she had come out at some point and said he was a sociopath, right? They agreed to have the children. She signed over all of her parental rights, but at some point she changed her mind and said, "No, I want my kids too." Michael was having it, and he was kind of like withholding the children from her. She linked up with the ops. She's over here on the prosecution. So she essentially could be a very good witness for the prosecution for this case. They said she come into the damn thing. She said she took one look at Michael, and Michael took one look at her. And that was all she wrote. Okay? That was all she had wrote. She had flipped on the stand. "Michael, I love you. I love you. You a great man. You a great man. I love you. Michael, I don't even want to be up here with these people. I want to be with you and my kids, Michael." And Diane said that when she got off the stand, she looked over to Michael to see if he would look at her, and he gave her nothing. That's what the lady said. So it was gotten to a point where they're like, you know what? This is going too bad. This is going a little bit too bad. And I feel like, we need to kind of bring in some reinforcements. And so the reinforcement that they bring in is none other than, Macaulay Culkin. He is a megastar at this time, is Home Alone kid, right? So now we have two major stars in the courtroom. And he comes out and he has always been adamant, "Nothing has ever happened to me. Michael Jackson has been my friend since the beginning. He's a good man. They're trying to prosecute him." He goes on the stand. They said that, the courtroom was so quiet and everybody was so starstruck. Wow, look at these two megastars having a moment. Michael Jackson peers up and looks at him. He's looking over at Michael Jackson, and it's giving, I am now witnessing two megastars have a moment with each other. And I'm just so happy to be here to witness it. Wade Robinson comes up and saying, "No, no, 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 it never happened. It ain't happened to me. It never happened." It wasn't me, is what Wade said. Okay. Tom Mesereau says that, Neverland was a place that was magical. It was safe. And Wade was so strong. It was a strong witness. They were trying so hard to get him to break. Wade, we heard that this, that, and the third. Wade, this, that, and that, da, da, da. And they said that the prosecution was trying so hard to get him to say something, that they said, "Well, damn, did you ever think that maybe you fell asleep and don't remember?" And the jurors said, "Well, damn, I'm feeling a little like y'all really just trying. Y'all just trying so bad." It's given desperation. All right. Desperado. All right. It's given a little piece of Desperado. And because of that, it's just the pressure is getting worse. All right. The pressure is getting worse. So after he's going up there, they finally go with the magazine again. They said they pull out a magazine, another barely legal. And this prosecutor says when he pulls out the magazine, he says his shoulders slump over. He puts his head down and his body changes. His body changes physically. And we know this to be true because, what the trauma, like trauma lives in our body, right? The body keeps the score. And him being the expert said that, when he was shown the thing Boys Will Be Boys, which is another pornographic magazine, he looks down, he looks shook up, he looks nervous. He looks like he remembers being shown possibly that particular book. He never folds. 2 weeks of closing arguments. Tom Mesereau kills it. He goes through each and every piece of documentation, each and every piece of evidence, down to the science, down to the date, blah, 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 blah. Very, very meticulous, this Tom Mesereau. Okay. Master of his craft, artful, skillful. Okay. And after that, they have 3 days of deliberation. It's still 50-50. Okay. They're at a standstill. And the judge says, no, you're going to have to figure it out. It's not going to be a mistrial. Eventually, there's a verdict. There are 2 pictures. There's a picture of Gavin and his brother who were at a convenience store when it came in breaking news that we have a verdict. And when they have the verdict, Michael Jackson comes in and he's very sedated. He's very, very heavily sedated. He's surrounded by family. I seen Janet, I seen Mom, I see Jermaine. And another thing too, Michael Jackson felt like there were not enough people who were in support of him. This is why Catherine came out and did an interview. All right. And Joe said, I'll say it. Catherine won't say it. They're making it a race thing. They want to ruin the legacy. And that's what, that's why the Jacksons got on there too, because they were like, well, Joe, if you come up here, Michael had promised them that if you come back, hold on, let me see what Human Nature is talking about. Oh, hold up. You got some extras. So yeah, they ended up telling him that like, well, you what was I saying? I forgot because I was looking at that. He ended up telling him like, you need to figure it out, like whatever. Michael Jackson coming, he sedated, heavy emotions, whatever. Michael Jackson was promising the Jacksons, well, once we get over this, because they're trying to ruin the Jackson legacy. They're trying to ruin the brand. And from what we know from the movies, okay, Joe ain't trying to hear shit about messing up that brand. Okay. He made that motherfucking brand. All right. And because he made that brand, they all gather around Catherine, Joe. They doing interviews, Jermaine thinking they about to go back on tour after this. They got all of these different things that they thinking about. And so he rallies the family together. They're finally here, heavily sedated, possibly on a propofol, come in, no emotions. Right. And he gets the verdict of not guilty, or he gets the verdict he was acquitted of the charges. And there's a difference between being not guilty and acquitted. So not guilty means like, this is what happened. You were not guilty. You were found innocent. Michael Jackson was acquitted, meaning that the charges that were brought up against him were not proved beyond a reasonable doubt. That's the difference. They're used interchangeably, but legally there is a difference. It's nuanced, but it's a difference. Okay. And they have to actually tell Michael. Michael's kind of just sitting there out of it, and tells Michael, yeah, you won. We won. And he gets up and he's quiet. He walks out. He's doing a little one of those He gets in the car and he said, the car was quiet. The car was quiet. And he exhales. And one of the friends that was on the show that was of Michael said, I was thinking to myself, wow, like, we have a chance for him to kind of like put this behind him and like we can try again and we can start over and we can do all of these different things. And he has another chance. He has another chance at life. And the guy has mentioned, well, no, you don't understand how this works. This now means that, it's over for Michael. He will never recover from this. He will never be the same. It will never be the same for him. And, this is coming from a boy who has been in front of the public eye for years since a child. That's the whole thing. He didn't even have a childhood. And so now here we are. Your reputation is ruined. And that's another thing too. Yes, okay, he was acquitted of the charges. But, public opinion will always outweigh something. And Michael Jackson apparently was black, so he had his ear to the streets. And after the trial, it was only 4 years later that he passed. 4, y'all. I didn't know that. I was a little gagged by that. I don't know how y'all feeling. Me personally, Dre, I was gagged. I was, oh my God. He really could not handle. He really just could not handle whatever he was battling with, whatever he was dealing with. Because obviously things had ramped up at that point. The sedation, not wanting to feel. And granted, I'm not saying that he just, obviously we know he had the Pepsi Cola commercial, but that's kind of introduced him to painkillers and everything. But I could imagine him years of hard performing and hard dancing, having some aches and pains and needing a little piece of something, to get that inflammation down. Okay, I need a little piece of something. But to then pass, by way of propofol injections and everything like this, like it was, I really wished and hoped that we're able to kind of fill in the gaps from here until, up until the point where he was in Las Vegas, in his Las Vegas home, to which, it was the ultimate demise. But that's it, guys. I really feel like I learned more in this docuseries. Now, I don't believe. Now, what do y'all think? Drop it in the chat. Do y'all think that he was guilty? Do y'all think that Michael Jackson did that shit or not? Because a good documentary is supposed to make you think. And I think that, like him being okay, so I got a no in the chat. But yeah, I feel like most people don't believe that it happened. And there was another thing that wasn't mentioned in the documentary was there was some issues about the fingerprints that was on the actual magazine, right? There was the children's fingerprints that was on the actual magazine, and Tom Massaro pretty much was like it was also found out that because the prosecution was using that as a way to kind of like corroborate their story, but Tom Massaro was like, well, Michael Jackson's prints were not found on that magazine on said page or whatever the case, so how could he have shown them, right? I know that was something that I knew from my own information bank because they didn't include that in the docuseries. They just said that, the magazines were there. The fingerprints part was never mentioned. Michael Jackson, the person who created Good Humanity Music, can't be guilty. I mean, yeah. Michael Jackson was, the merciful Michael Jackson, the Prince of Peter Pan and everything like this. I think that this docuseries is going to kick up old dust and make us rethink things. There was more information. I think that it was more so edited to show that there was a hiccup in the justice system as opposed to he was really innocent. Because why not include the information about the fingerprints? That's important. If you don't know, you don't know. I knew that, right? Why mention the, in the hotel room with the German boys at the time that the Neverland Ranch was being investigated? That's painting a narrative that he was just wilding out, partying with the fucking people, drinking the beer and schnitzel and shit, wilding out when it was possibly a family friend. How could Okay, so here we go. Imagine being so famous at the early age. I know it's unbelievable. I couldn't imagine, and always being famous, and then to have failed so publicly with your image when we know the image was important to him. Look at the way he cut off half his damn nose. Okay, you want to give me credit for anything? You know what I mean? How could a boy describe him and marks on his body without there being something nasty that happened? Yeah, I don't know. What we can't go off of that because Jordy Chandler, like, those charges were dropped, right? And those prosecutors, the DA, they all were in there and said the same thing. And this is when we had this. They made me take pictures of my body and everything in my lower torso and my thighs and other areas, whatever they wanted. Where there's smoke, there's fire. If it wasn't Michael Jackson, how would you guys feel? I don't know. I don't want to believe it. But sometimes you just gotta know what shit is, even if you don't want to. It don't feel good. But I don't know. I'm not saying that. I gotta marinate on it. Hello from Kentucky, USA. Michael Jackson was a victim his whole life. The Prince was a victim of performing pain. Prince unfortunately took some genetic pain meds and it killed him. Yeah. Also, too, I think it's worth mentioning. I was about to say Wade Robinson came out and recanted and perjured himself and basically said, "Yes, I lied. I lied. I made it up. He did. It's me. He did do those things." Quite a few of the boys came out in the HBO documentary. You guys remember that in 2018, and said, "We lied on the stand, babe. He did these things to us." And the Jackson family and the Jackson estate said, "We don't give a damn. Hold on. We don't give a damn. These lies that you tell on my brother, they need to stop now." So I want to know what you guys think about this. How are we feeling about it? Drop it in the comments. I'm a little bit torn. I just feel like Michael Jackson and anything associated to him is going to be a money grab naturally by nature. And people know that. And sometimes things get lost in the smoke and things get lost in the fire because there's so much of it. And it's like, can we weed out what's real and what's not? And things get blurry. And things got really, really blurry. I think that Michael was very out of touch with reality. And he definitely, I'm sure, had a God complex. And also being so isolated. He never, and Michael also too was very abused. He was very severely abused. And now you have the ability to control all dynamics and all aspects. So I can imagine him being a little controlling and manipulative and knowing how to do those things, because you develop those skills naturally when you need to do that to survive an abusive parent. Yeah. Well, I want to know what you guys think, and you know, I don't want to drop the link. Y'all don't even be coming up anyway. I'll put it in the chat if y'all want to. Not, do y'all want to come up? Put it in the chat. That's the only reason. That's the only way I'm gonna drop the link if y'all want to, because I ain't even about to go through the steps of even posting it. But I do think that it's and Michael just wanted to sleep, and he took that self injection to sleep, and he took that, and he took too much. It was accidental. I mean, nobody accidentally give themselves anesthesia. That was intentional. Yeah. And I don't disagree that maybe he had some pain. Maybe he had a lot of pain. He'd been dancing all of his life, literally. Arthritis some damn where. In connection with some mental health things. Yeah, I want to go to sleep. Fucked it. It's too much. I can't sleep regular. I done had 10, 20 fucking years of Quaaludes and Percocets and Oxycontins. They don't even make no more, bitch. I need propofol. Okay? So it's unfortunate. It is one of those things that we can learn from, to stay protected on both aspects and not be financially exploited and to not be sexually exploited. Because a lot of people think that it's just the children that are harmed. The parents are groomed as well. The trust in the form and in the bond is created. Okay. So I want to know what you think. Drop down in the comments, babe. I'll be around. All right. Okay. As always, I'm sending you much love and much light. I will see you in the next video. Peace.